Good morning. It's time for the garlic update, and there is quite an update to be made, so let me show you. This is the container of store-bought non-organic garlic. You can see one of the shells right there. Ooh. Okay. And I think almost everything has come up at this point. This one's a little bit funky looking, but it should pop up soon. And this is the container of the store-bought organic garlic. There's what the tag looks like. And a couple of them have come up, but I feel like it's not a whole lot. But the good thing is that they're still popping up. So I feel like within a few days, most of them were visible. And like, look, there's still a bunch of baby ones coming up. So that's a really good sign. Next, I want to show you this planter of store-bought non-organic garlic as well. Look how beautiful it's looking. I think every single clove has come up already, and a few of them have actually gotten broken off because of my kittens. There's a troublemaker right there. Levi. He ran. But overall, it's looking really, really good. They are looking so beautiful, and it's so crazy to me that these came up first before anything else. That's something I'm gonna keep in mind for next year when I'm planting, because then I kind of know what their growing habits are like. I also wanted to show you this in-ground garden bed, which, let me just say something real quick. I know I overplanted this thing like crazy. I went a little bit ham because it's my first and only in-ground garden bed. So I was like, oh my God, let me put everything in there. Now that I've had some time to settle down and really look at it, I'm like, girl, these plants are gonna get massive and they're not gonna have enough room. So I think I know that I should either thin them out or transplant some to other portions of the yard, because look at them. There's so many. There's just so many. But I can't do it today because I'm leaving up north, but I just wanted to show you what the garlic looks like. It is also popping up, and this was also store-bought non-organic garlic, but it wasn't like that purplish variety. It was more white cloves, and they're looking really good. Really, really good. How adorable. Yeah, I have no complaints about these so far. The only thing is, I really do want to come in here, maybe transplant some of, like, these are cabbages. They're about a foot apart, but some of them are like 6-7 inches apart, and I just know that that's not enough space. But truthfully, when I planted them, they were starts that were struggling for a little bit because I got sick, then I got hurt, and I just didn't have enough time to keep them as healthy as I could. So I figured that after I planted them here, maybe like half of them wouldn't make it. And I was wrong, because it looks like all of them made it. Every single one. So I guess that's a good thing, and now I can just go ahead and take those and transplant them elsewhere. Next up, I wanted to show you the small garlic cloves that I planted just for harvesting the greens. And these also look pretty good. Most of them have popped up. And I also popped a couple of them in these smaller containers. And I can start to see them peeking out of the soil. But now I want to show you the garden bed, because there I feel like it's easier to see how each of the garlic is growing, because they're like in their own sections, and it's so interesting. And it's very, very interesting. So this is the garlic bed and what it looks like right now. Here we have the homegrown garlic that I saved from the store-bought garlic that I planted last year. And look how beautiful it is. It is looking gorgeous right here. And then the second one that has a ton of them growing is the store-bought non-organic garlic, which I planted right there. You can even see like the clove. Oh, here's another one. Look at that. Wait, is it store-bought organic? Oh no, this is the store-bought organic garlic. What? Okay, So first one was the homegrown, then the store-bought organic, right? Hold on. Let me look at these tags. Okay, let me look at this tag. Yeah, store-bought organic garlic. Wow, wow, wow. It's doing really, really good. So then did I not plant the store-bought non-organic? No, I don't think I did. Wow, okay. So this is the store-bought organic garlic, which is looking pretty good. Okay, let me go back to the other side again. For this section, I only have one little garlic popping up right here, but I'm starting to see a couple more peeking out of the soil right there. And let's see. This is one of the seed garlic. Okay, I only see that one. Oh, could this? No, that one's not it. So I see one more popping out of the soil, but I think that's all I see there for now. And then this is more seed garlic as well. And there's one right there. And then I think there's another one right on that corner. But I don't see any other ones peeking out yet. I find that so interesting. For some reason, I thought that the seed garlic would be the first to pop out. And then I thought that the non-organic garlic would take the longest to grow. But it's so interesting to see that that one was actually the first one to pop out. That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. So far, in terms of how well they're sprouting, it makes me feel so much better about planting store-bought garlic, because I feel like if for any reason I were to not save seed garlic from my own harvest, which I'm going to do, but if for any reason I was to run out, I can just pick up some up at the store and plant that. But I do also want to keep in mind that that doesn't guarantee that it is disease free. Here is an update on the leeks. I didn't backfill anymore. I've just watered them in like you guys saw in the video. And it's been a few days and you can see that a lot of the soil has fallen back in on its own. There's a few that have bigger holes, but the roots themselves are basically covered up, which I think is a really good thing. And they're looking really good despite being trampled by my kittens like every single day. So you can see some of the holes down there. You can't see any of the roots because they're covered up. And same goes right here. But the leeks themselves are looking pretty good. They've definitely put on some growth. And because they're set up on drip irrigation, they're not drying out every day like I thought they might. And so I've been looking at more and more videos on why the holes are made so deep and whether they're backfilled or not and how they're watered. And oh my gosh, look at this boy. What are you up to, buddy? What are you up to? You up to no good. That's what you're up to. No good. No good. One of the reasons that they're dug so deeply and that they're not really backfilled, I saw some gardeners say, is to help minimize the resistance so that the leeks can actually grow a lot wider without having resistance against the soil. And I watched so many videos to see if maybe I did have to backfill, but I didn't see them doing it. So I'm gonna stick to what I did and not backfill. And if for any reason it doesn't work, then I know for next year, but at least I tried that method. Here's the last container, and so far I'm very happy with the results. Like even the holes like this where I can't see the roots. The roots have been completely covered. I don't need the soil to go all the way to the top. I just need the roots to be covered with soil, and the rest of it should go pretty good on its own. What is that? Anyways, but a lot of them have had the soil fall back in and they seem to be doing just fine. So anyways, I just wanted to show you guys that update on the leeks. Okay, it's time for me to go inside now. It's getting really cold out here. But something else that I wanted to mention to you, I think it's just me trying to procrastinate going inside because I haven't been out to the garden as much as I would like to. And I'm leaving again today, so one thing that I noticed is that it is significantly warmer in the areas of the garden that don't have the shade cloth. And I know right now we're in November and I would have taken the shade cloth down by this point, But I don't know if I'm going to post this or not, but there's a part of me that just wants to leave it up. I want to switch out the black shade cloth for more white shade cloth. That way it doesn't cast a shadow, but it would still block out 50% of the light. And when I walk over here where the white shade cloth is, it doesn't look very dark. It actually looks very nice, almost like it's just slightly overcast. And everything in the garden right now is looking so much better than it did in prior years when I didn't have the shade cloth up. Even at this point, like look at the roses. The roses are blooming like crazy. Look at those. There's so many blooms everywhere. I wouldn't have gotten blooms until it's more like winter-like weather out here. And look at them. They're stunning. They're at the very top. Tomatoes, they're spilling out of the trellises right now. And usually it took them a while to get to this point, but they're growing like crazy. They're going wild. The pumpkin vines are still hanging in there. The peppers are producing an insane amount. Even the roselle hibiscus is still producing, which I thought it would stop by now because it's getting pretty cold at night. And then the eggplant is flowering again. It's flowering again. And I still have melons in the garden. Like, everything is still looking super good. It's just the really heat-loving crops that seem to not be so happy, but everything else looks great. This is a whole bed of dwarf and determinate tomatoes, and they are going pretty crazy. Like, I see tomatoes hiding all around. They're flowering. It looks great. It looks great. I have cucumber plants going up there. And wait, is that a cucumber or is that some sort of bean? I have these vines still hanging in there. I don't know, you guys. I just want to test it out this year. Yes, I will get significantly less light in the garden, but I'll also make it way colder in the garden. And I'm wondering how that'll affect my fruit trees. That's something that I really wanted to test out this year, and I haven't posted it because I don't want anybody to talk me out of it. And I know that we are getting significantly less light now that it's more like fall, winter. The days are getting shorter. But I just want to test it out for these trees, especially my deciduous trees, because they require a certain amount of chill hours, and sometimes we just don't get enough chill hours. So I want to see if maybe I get better fruit production. This is a Santa Rosa plum, and this was the foliage before the shade cloth. This is the foliage now. It's grown several feet and it is looking amazing. This is my Florida Prince Peach, and these were the leaves prior to the shade cloth, and those are the leaves now. So much new growth. This is my Pakistan mulberry, and this thing is just growing like crazy. But I did prune a couple of branches right here so that I could get more light to those leeks, and I plan to prune the rest of the tree soon because I don't want it to grow too huge, and these can grow massive here in the low desert. This is an apple tree, and I know you can't tell because there's so much basil right here, but look at this little apple tree. Soon this basil's gonna come down and this apple tree will have all the space to itself, but I used it as a shield during the hottest parts of the year to try and protect that trunk and to try and keep the little tree alive, and I think it worked, and now it's looking gorgeous. The citrus is also growing really, really well. And I wanted to specifically show you this desert gold peach because it does have shade cloth, but during the hottest parts of the day, it still gets a lot of direct light coming in this way. So I want to show you what the leaves look like on it. It still has some scorching on the tips. Look at that. And there was so much more that I pruned off, but the tips were still getting scorched despite like coming out with a lot of brand new growth. So once the days cool down a lot more, hopefully the foliage will perk up. But this tree is hanging in there, but it's not looking the best compared to some of the other trees that have more shade protection. And like, look, oh. And I also come in here to check to make sure it's getting watered, and it is. It's literally just the shade cloth. The shade cloth is making a huge difference. those are just some of the trees that I wanted to show you, because I mean, there's so many that I could just go over every single one and I wouldn't have enough time. But it's made such a huge difference having shade cloth in the garden versus not having shade cloth in the garden. So if they can do this for the trees during the summer and early fall, I'm just wondering how it'll affect them for winter time. And right now it's still really early in the morning, but midday the sun comes out and it still feels pretty warm everywhere else except for the garden. It still feels a lot more fresh. So I hope that results in happier plants over the winter time. And then anything that is really frost sensitive, I'll make sure to cover up. But I mean, even look at the bananas. Look at the mangoes putting out more growth despite it being colder over here. Avocado trees, new leaves. Look at this one. They're coming out bigger too. This is a soursop. This is another avocado tree, and during the summer, I don't know if you can tell, but the leaves were coming out super small. You can see a lot of the sunburn right there too. I need to prune some of these back. And then, like, look at the size of that foliage compared to the size of the foliage that it's producing now that the weather's cooler. They're coming out big again. That's so crazy. It's so crazy for me to see how these plants adapt. I went out and harvested one container of leeks this morning, and some of them are really long, the white stem portion of it, but they're not quite as wide. And then there are others like this one. Look how big that is. And then the white portion just keeps on going because I planted them so deeply. And then look at this one too. That's a really good size right there. And I believe this variety was the giant. It's something giant. It's like the Russian giant. Oh, I need to go look at the tag. But look how big. Look at this one. This one's a monster right here. That's crazy. So today I'm gonna be making leek soup, and then look how tall these are. The plants, the whole plant itself is probably a good 3.5 to 4 feet tall. They're huge. They're huge. Wow. And that's just one container. So let me show you. Let me show you. I still have another container, but this is the one that grew right underneath the shade cloth, and it did really good. The container is pretty much empty at this point, and I did make a little bit of a mess with the leaves on the floor. And then I still have a few other containers to harvest from, some of which have started flowering. So I need to come in here and take off the scapes. But to harvest them, all I do is just pull them out. And they come out so easily at this point. Oh, that one looks like a huge one. Hold on. I really need to get in there. Whoa. Look how crazy that is. Man, those are some big old leeks. Oh, planting them deeply absolutely helped with the size of the leeks this year. Wow. Wow. Holy crap, that thing's huge. Oh, what variety is this? This is the Tadorna leek, or at least a portion of it. And then another portion is the American flag leek. And I guess maybe a portion of it is the Bulgarian leeks. Oh, I remember when I first planted these, I really wanted to compare and contrast which ones did best. But at this point, I've got them all mixed up and I completely forgot to do that. Wow. And then this is gonna be the last one. Oh, not too shabby. But see, a lot of them are starting to flower, so I think it is best that I harvest them now. And then that'll also just open up space for other things to grow in the containers. And you know what too? I think this made me feel a lot better about my garlic harvest, because even though my garlic harvest was not the best, my leek harvest was pretty good. And in this container, I feel like even though I planted some of the same varieties, it's not doing quite as good. Like the varieties aren't huge or anything, because this container was right up against the because this container was right underneath the black shade cloth. Compared to the other ones that were underneath the white shade cloth, this one just didn't get quite as much light. And that's one thing that I feel like helps leeks produce really good, is having a good amount of light. This is probably the biggest one out of this container, and this would be considered a small one in the other containers. Small to medium size at least. Wow, I can't believe I harvested my leeks. Wow. Oh. So this was the size of these, which is really, really small, especially compared to the other containers. But that's okay, because this is still way better than I got the first year. But man, some of those are just amazing. So that is the leek harvest for today. Here's a better look at my leek harvest. Look at these. That's crazy. And not just the fact that they're white down here, but look at how much white stem we have to be able to cook with, which is awesome. And that's because I planted them a lot deeper than I did initially. Because if you watch that video, at first I planted them, they weren't deep at all. And then I felt like there was something wrong, like I was missing something. So I looked up a few more videos on how to do it, and then I went back in and replanted them. And the leeks that were growing underneath the white shade cloth performed so much better. Even as they were growing, I could see the plants getting taller and more lush, and they looked more vibrant. Whereas some of the plants that were planted underneath the black shade cloth never really measured up. I mean, look at the size of some of these compared to those. They're very small. This is probably still even better, but this is about the size of leeks that I got the first year I tried growing them. They honestly just look like really long little onions. This would have been considered a huge leek last year when I first tried growing them. But this year, we've got all of these beautiful ones. Oh, I'm just so amazed. I am so amazed. And the fact that we have so much white stem is incredible. Oh my gosh. What a good crop. I think one of the reasons I feel extra proud is because these were all grown in containers, which is really cool to be able to say that we got such an amazing harvest from containers. And compared to the island, look how much space they take. These things are huge. These things are massive. Wow, I can't believe it. It helps me get over the heartbreak of my garlic harvest quite a bit, I would say.